is the most beautiful racetrack in America, hands down.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the breeding stock sale. Book one. Good to have you back with us.
And a pleasant Friday night, everybody. I'm Jeremy Plunk from Horseplayer Now. The Keeneland Look Ahead, set for night 2 of the season, previewing the Saturday card on Fall Star Saturday. What a huge lineup we have tomorrow with a Coolmore Turf Mile anchoring things. We've got the 2-year-olds in the Breeders' Futurity, 5 graded stakes races coming up on Saturday, 2 grade 2s, 3 grade 1s, a fabulous day of racing set to go. And we're going to talk about it here over the next 30, 40 minutes as we preview each night's racing for the next day on the Keeneland Look Ahead. You'll be able to get action and previews for the next day's races, including we've got some interviews tonight. Kenny McPeek, the trainer of a couple contenders in the major stakes. We'll hear from Tom Leach's interviews. You can follow the live stream at 8:30 Eastern each night before the next day's racing. Or if you can't catch it, we'll be happy to welcome you on demand. Those on-demand features available at all the social media channels for Keeneland, as well as at Horseplayer Now. So we hope you follow along there. If you can join it for the live show, great, because we'll give you your first look at tomorrow's card. If not, catch up in the morning and get set to go for the races as we get going with a 1 p.m. first post time on Saturday. Hey, opening day, I hope you had a good day. It was tough sledding out there if you weren't a long shot player in some cases. 15-1 winner kicked off the racing meet. 17-1 winner a little bit later in Stakes Company with Manny Waugh. Sandwiched in between that, we had a 22-1 winner. You know, things got restored a little bit in terms of normalcy then later in the day as we had a favorites win back-to-back in the 2 stakes races, the Jessamine and the Alcibiades. So congratulations to the stakes winners. Manny Waugh took down the Phoenix today. Delight for Jonathan Thomas drew off and made him hide in the Jessamine stakes. She looks like a good one towards the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Fillies. And, of course, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies got one of its probable favorites and now a 2-time stakes winner in Wonder Wheel. She was very impressive going wire to wire. The wire was key. It got there in time for her as the runner-up was making up serious ground to the finish line, but to the wire on time it was for Wonder Wheel as a lukewarm 4-1 favorite. And Delight was a favorite that paid in the $9 range too as well. So the 2 favorites who won the stakes just weren't lead pipe chalks. And so for a gambling standpoint, that was a good thing. That was one of our key plays in the big picture yesterday, was trying to get Wonder Wheel home. We had a winner earlier in the card disqualified. I'll take umbrage with the call from the stewards on that, but I'm glad I don't have to be a steward. Certainly a thankless job, but one that quite necessary in the game. No matter which side you sit on the disqualification today, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. We lost this one personally today. Maybe we'll win the next one and have the racing gods even things out. Let's take a look at what we've got on tap for Saturday. The big picture, as we do here on the Keeneland Look Ahead. We give you a look at this 11 race card in the sequence so you can see where the multi-race wagers start and where they stop, or where they start and where the next one picks up. The pick 5 begins in race number 1. That's how you understand that. The pick 4 starts in race number 2. Those are the early versions. Pick 6 on Saturday will begin in race number 5. Then we get over to the stakes portion of the program. Races 6 through 10 in succession Saturday. All stakes races. There's an all stakes pick 5 that begins in race number 6. Also, the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, you see the TP3 in green. That's the $3 Turf Pick 3 with the low takeout. Great wager there. Races 6, 8, and 10. Race number 6 is going to be the Woodford Stakes. So it's going to be an all-stakes Keeneland Turf Pick 3 on Saturday. A pick 4 that's all stakes begins in race number 7. And then you're going to see another pick 4 start in race number 8. So there's a third pick 4 added to this card, an all stakes version, races 7 through 10. And then a typical late pick 4, which will be races 8 through 11. It's the way you take a look at it. We'll talk about our key plays. One of the big things today is how do we evaluate Golden Pal? How confident are we in Golden Pal in race number 6? Because if you look at this big picture board of where the wagers start, if you're going to play multi-race wagers the second half of the card, the Keeneland Turf pick 3 and All Stakes pick 5 kick off in that first leg with Golden Pal. So we'll talk about how we evaluate that runner. We've got a best bet of the day coming up in race 7 that we'll talk about. And I think we've got a pace situation that's going to play out in the Coolmore Turf Mile that could favor just a couple of the runners in the big feature on Saturday. So a lot to talk about in the races. We'll go through each one of them, give you some statistics and handicapping pointers about each of the races. How did the track play? What are we looking for Saturday? On opening day, 7 main track races on the dirt. 5 of them were won virtually wire to wire. So speed held very good, including a wire to wire winner Wonder Wheel of the Alcibiades. So speed was good on the main. We did have 2 deep closers win. One of those being Maniwa, who won the Phoenix Stakes from well off the pace. So you could close, but it was difficult to do so, I think. On the turf, we had 3 turf races, 2-1 on the front end, 1-1 from like mid-pack. So a little too early and too few races to make any kind of thought, I think, about the turf course at this point in time. Sunny skies, temps in right around the 70, 71 degree mark expected for the Saturday program. So we'll be fast on the main track, and the turf course will be as firm as we get in Kentucky in the fall. It'll be good, probably the condition listed, but it's about the best it will be this time of year. So we look forward to good racing conditions. Let's look at the Keeneland Handicappers box. This is available at Keeneland.com under the Expert Selections tab and the Handicappers Consensus within the Handicapping tab. You can get the picks there each day for Scott Hazelton, Tom Leach, myself, Gabby Gaudette, Kim Nelson. And I put this up not for you to necessarily follow along, hey, who likes the 7, who likes the 4? It's to get a sense of the feel of the card. How many races do we have where the same horse is picked over and over? How many races do we have where 4 or 5 different horses are the top choice in a race? That's going to tell you the races that are probably going to have heavy favorites, those that are very popular among the picks, and the races that look like tough handicapping chores where you might want to search around a little bit. Those will be the ones where we might have 4 or 5 different horses listed as our top pick. So that's the way we like to share the handicapping information and the data with you as we discuss each of these races, which will start on Saturday in race number 1 with the maiden claiming race on the dirt at 7 furlongs. This is a race where historically you don't want first-time starters. 7 furlongs, maiden claimers. We saw this situation play out on the opening day card. We talked about it yesterday, but horses from Churchill have done very well. Horses with experience, though, in these maiden claiming 7 furlong races are really, really important. So only 3 first-time starters have won out of 48 of this run, I believe, what the total number is run up to now, 40, 41. We're in the 40s and only 3 first-time starters. So Crow's Nest for Todd Pletcher is going to be a first-time starter in the opener who's probably going to get bet because it's Pletcher, it's Irad Ortiz. But again, the first-time starters, 7 furlongs, maiden claimers, usually horses you want to stay against. Pletcher's done very well with his maiden claimers in the fall at Churchill Downs. He doesn't run many of them, but he wins with almost all of them. 7 starters, 5 wins, a second and a third on the dirt with maiden claimers in the fall for Pletcher. But none of those 7 previous starters were first-time starters. So it's a matter of what kind of horse is he bringing in here for a tag? That's the question mark. Horses you might want to look at in this spot. Obviously the horses coming out of races at Churchill Downs have been effective at this class level. So Pine Valley, Bourbon on Fire, horses like that, Bay Blader. But I think a horse Celluloid Hero down on the inside deserves a little bit of a look for a pedigree play. Painter has done exceptionally well as a sire of horses on the main track here. He wins about 17%, which is a rock solid number, but the ROI, $2.53 for every dollar bet. The painters come in and they pay bomb prices when they do. So I'm looking at Celluloid Hero as a potential horse in race number 1 that I'm going to give a shot to. Across the selector's box, nobody else playing the painter angle. And usually when I'm out on an island and I'm the only horse who picks amongst the handicappers, it's usually because it's an obscure angle. They work for you for prices sometimes, and other times they don't. But we're going to take our shot with Celluloid Hero. We talk about races that are wide open. Look at the picks in this race. I've got the 1, Tom's got the 2, Kim's got the 4, Scott's got the 5, and Gabby's got the 7. There are 5 different picks in a 3, 8-horse field in race number 1. So this is the race where the public is not going to be dialed in very tight. So you can look at race number 1 and feel like you might be able to get a little creative and see what you can come up with. Race number 2 on the card, we'll shift our attention there and go back to the big picture so you can see where these sequences begin. Pick 4 starts in race number 2. We've got the pick 5 opening in the first, then the pick 4 for the early pick 4 starts in race number 2. And this is a maiden special weight race here for the 2-year-olds. We talked about this, and this produced a nice price on the card today. Horses with experience in these 2-year-old maiden specials have a little bit of an edge. Horses from Churchill have a little bit of an edge. You're looking for, a first-time starter, or a horse from Churchill, I should say, for these 6 furlong maiden specials. And Humbling is a first-time starter on the outside who I think has a big chance in here in the career debut. And Humbling the 12 is also the top pick for Scott and Kim in here. We're all following this Brendan Walsh trainee, $1 million purchase. Quality Road Cold out of Above Perfection. If that name sounds familiar to you on the dam side, that was the dam of Kentucky Derby winner Always Dreaming. So Humbling is a half brother, half sister, I should say, to Always Dreaming. Bullet work out at Churchill for this. I'm going to take the 12 Humbling as my pick. If you're looking for a horse with experience, though, go the Churchill route with the experienced horses. Magical Loot, the 3, Adiva, the 7, horses that I would put in on a high consideration in this particular spot. Alexa Liu, the 9 in here, a first-time starter for Dallas Stewart. That's the top pick for Tom Leach. He's known to throw a long shot or two at us as a handicapper, one to watch there. But I think this race runs through Humbling. First-time starter, half sister, so Always Dreaming, and that's going to be the horse I take to start off the early pick 4. But, look, if you're playing pick 5s, pick 4s, do you want to hone in on just one horse in a race like this? Probably not. I think you want to use the 2 horses from Churchill. I would go 3 deep in here in the pick 4. Take the first-time starter, take the 2 Churchill experienced horses, and you should have race 2 covered a little bit. Race number 1, as we said, 5 different horses picked on top. So if you're playing the early pick 5, you're probably spreading as far as you can afford in race number 1. Then race number 2, you're getting a little more focused here, probably with the 3 deep play. Let's move to race number 3 in our handicapping here. And race number 3 is a non-winners of 2 lifetime race and 7 furlongs. So non-winners of 2 lifetime claimer. A lot of times in these races, whether it's Keeneland or any track I'm playing, when I hear non-winners of 2 lifetime, that means they all have at most 1 career win. Some maidens will run in these races, but the max you can have is 1 career victory. So go back into past performances and the running lines and see which horse has the best maiden win. They wanted the best track. They won for the biggest price tag, whether it was a claiming race or they won a maiden special, and match them up. If you have a horse, say, who won a 15,000, in Ohio, and another horse who won a 50,000 in Kentucky as their maiden races, they're matching up in non-winners of 2. Even if those races are 4, 5, 6, 8 races ago, the high end of this horse, the quality horse, will be what they've won for versus the other horse who may not have won for quite as high quality of a race. So look for the horse with the best career maiden win in a non-winners of 2 lifetime. And if you do that in this race, you're going to land on number 1, Social Mandate, who in April of 21 in the career debut won here at Keeneland in one of the baby dashes during the spring meet, was under the care of John Hancock back then. Now with Juan Cano, the trainer, a little bit of life last time from Social Mandate, kind of woke up at Churchill Downs last out. And so I think there's not much speed in this race. I think the 1 is going to be sent by Adam Bisquitta, who had a winner on opening day. I think they're going to send from the rail, and maybe we can get ourselves a little bit of a price play in race number 3 with the 1 Social Mandate. Tom's also on Social Mandate. Kim's got Social Mandate picked second. Speed inside and the best maiden win. I think that's the angle that we're approaching here with this particular runner, and that's where I'm going to go on top. This isn't a massively high confidence pick in here. I think you'd probably want to use a couple other, maybe the top 3. But if you're starting to look at, hey, I've got to spread in race number 1, I've got to go deep in race 2 a little bit, race 3 a little bit, the ticket starts to build up. Now you're going to go back and kind of say, do I really have a ticket to put together? Because if I don't have strong opinions early in the card, remember, there's pick 4s and pick 5s early and late. If you don't have a strong opinion early in the card, that means you play the late pick 5 that day if your stronger opinions later in the program. And if you bypass one of the 2 pick 5s, that gives you twice as much budget potentially to play on the sequence that you do like. So maybe you're not even playing a 50-cent pick 5. You're playing a $1 pick 5 later, and you spent the same amount of money on the pick 5 throughout the course of the day, but you give yourself a chance on the sequence you like more to hit it not once, but twice using the same combinations and get paid when you're right. That's what it's all about. So, for me, I look at my picks, and as we discuss these races and how confident I am on the earlier races on the card, are these races I want to hammer in on a pick 5 or a pick 4, or do I feel a little more confident later? Let's keep going and proceed through this 10, 11 race card and see what we come up with in that respect. Fourth race on the program is an allowance race, 6 furlongs, and these are 2-year-olds in allowance company. Let's see who in race number 4 the handicappers are coming up with. Prove Right's got 2 on top, myself and Tom Leach. Tap In Formation, my second choice, is the top pick from Scott, Gabby, and Kim. Now, here's a situation by looking at this board. There are clearly 2 horses that are in consideration and in play for everybody. This is Tap In Formation for trainer Wayne Catalano and Prove Right down on the rail for James Chapman. These are the 2 horses that everybody seems to think, from the public handicappers anyway, are the 2 to iron in on, and I do as well. Wayne Catalano with a nice win today with Manny Waugh in the stakes race in the Phoenix. So he's got his second timer Tap In Formation, the 4. Should be well prepped and ready for this. The Catalano horse is ready to go here. He didn't have the Arlington meet to unload a lot of horses throughout the course of this year with Arlington closing. So maybe some of these Chicago trainers who were more invested in the Arlington racing during the summer in years past will have a little bit more ammo to play at Keeneland with fresher horses more aimed for this meet maybe than what we've seen in the past. So something to keep an eye on. Certainly Catalano with Manny Waugh in the upset today in the Phoenix, gives a little bit of lean towards that direction. But I like Tap In Formation's win at Ellis Park. Showed a lot of speed, good speed from the gate. The 1 and the 4. Now we're only talking 2 deep in race number 4. And that's something we can start to kind of embrace in shortening a ticket and keeping our price down for the pick 4 and the pick 5 in the early versions. Let's go to the 5th race on the card. This is our last of the undercard races before we get to all of the stakes races. 5th race, we'll start the pick 6. If you're looking at the sequence of the pick 6 is a $1 wager, not a jackpot wager, traditional pick 6 at Keeneland, $1 bet there. So keep an eye on the pick 6 if that's something you like to play. That'll begin here in race number 5. And 5th race has a big field. We've got a dozen runners in this race, and I went all the way to the outside with Osborne. You say from the 12 hole, that's a tough post position, and it is in many cases. But at 7 furlongs, it's probably the best case scenario, or a 1-turn mile, where you start in the backstretch shoot, and you have a long run to the only turn. You avoid some traffic out there. You got plenty of time to tuck and get over, and you shouldn't end up 4 or 5 wide from the 12 hole going 7 furlongs. You should be able to get into a reasonable position. Osborne in here. I also thought Embrace the 11's got a big chance in here. So the 2 outside runners, if they can get any kind of position whatsoever into the turn, I think they're both strong because they're both good closers in a race that's got some speed. Gulfstream Way is a horse very fast on the front end. I think Gulfstream Way might just go right to the front in this spot. And, who else goes with that runner? Maybe Hippodrome shows a little bit of speed in here. And Malibu Mike. We need a little bit of pace for these horses, Osborne and Embrace. Both should be coming from off the pace. But those are my plays in race number 5. Scott's going with the speedster, Gulfstream Way. Gulfstream Way also for Kim Nelson. Implementation in St. Andrews getting calls in here. So we've got the 12, 9, 1, and 4. 4 different horses picked on top in this race from the public handicappers. This might look like a spread in that situation, but I think, you're good in here 4, probably those 4, the 1, 4, 11, and 12. If you can get through with those 4, you're in pretty good shape. So race number 5 to wrap up the early pick 4 and pick 5, maybe a 4 deep situation, but certainly would not have to go any deeper than that for my handicapping. Let's move to race number 6, and this starts our stakes run of 5 consecutive stakes races coming up on the Saturday card at Keeneland. It's the Grade 2 Woodford Stakes, $350,000 turf sprint in here. And when you talk about turf sprint, you talk about Wesley Ward. He is just so phenomenal in the turf sprint ranks. Going back, I believe, the last 5 years, 6 years, something like that in the Keeneland database. Wesley Ward's got 31 turf sprint wins at Keeneland. No other trainer's got more than 6. I mean, it's a massive gap between he and Rusty Arnold, who has the second most. One of those horses who has racked up some of those wins for Ward, 3 of them, in fact, is Golden Pow. And Golden Pow won last year's Woodford, back to defend the title. And for Golden Pal, his signature race last fall in the Breeders' Cup was just absolutely scintillating. He put 3 lengths on the field coming out of the starting gate in the Breeders' Cup and never looked back. He hasn't looked as good this year, and that's the question. And that's why when we get to the big picture and I talk about my key plays of the day today, the first one really comes up in evaluating Golden Pal in race number 6. Are you confident that Golden Pal is back to his form from last year after a modest win last time out in the Troy Stakes at Saratoga? Or are you thinking that this horse could be on the downside? Because if you like Golden Pal today, this race starts the All Stakes pick 5 and starts the Keeneland Turf pick 3. You're going to be starting your pick 3 with a 2 to 5 shot. And whether it's a $3 play or whether you're talking about the 50-cent play in the pick 5, when you start a sequence with a 2 to 5 shot, everybody's on board. So you have to look at that and say, we're not going to get a big payout today when you start with a 2 to 5 shot. So if you're confident in Golden Pal, then your next thought is, okay, the pick 4 and the pick 5, or this pick 3 that we're talking about, the turf pick 3 and the stakes pick 5, we're probably not looking at a box card return. There's no problem with that. That doesn't mean it's unbettable because you're looking at a small return. It just means you don't want to spend a lot of money on combinations chasing it. If you want to spend $50, for instance, on the pick 5, and you think it's not going to return a big number, then you don't want 100 different 50-cent combinations where you spend your $50, and when you hit it, you get it one time. Those are the situations where you spend $50 and you get back 62, and you go, wow, I had to hit 5 winners to get $12. That wasn't worth it. Focus your ticket down. Spend the same $50 a different way. Limit yourself maybe to 10 combinations and play it for $5 a piece, And then when the favorites come in and you're getting that short $62 return, you're picking up 10 tickets of it and getting $620 for your $50. And you're hitting that combination multiple times. That's the way you need to look at it and strategize. And that's why it's such an important evaluation here on what you think about Golden Pal. If you think Golden Pal gets beaten here, then the turf pick 3 and the stakes pick 5 that begin in race number 6, they're going to be good payers today. If you beat Golden Pal off the bat, so then you might want to do more of a spread ticket where you get more combinations and, your 50-cent hit might bring you back the $500. If you think he's going to win, though, your 50-cent hit's probably only going to bring you back $50, $60, and you need to play a more focused ticket. Doesn't change your budget. If you've got a $50 to play on the pick 5 and you think that's what it's worth, or $30 on the $3 pick 3 and you think that's what it's worth, weight your bets based on your confidence and what you think the payoffs are going to be. I happen to think Golden Pal is going to be back. I think he's clearly the horse to beat in this race. Artemis City Limits is the question mark because he's got speed. I don't know if he has Golden Pal speed, and we're going to find out if this Mike Maker trainee can run with Golden Pal early. Do they soften each other up? Does one get knocked out? If that's the case, then, the dam breaks open and anybody can win from off the pace. That's why I'm talking. If you think Golden Pal is susceptible, then a spread leg here and getting a lot of 50-cent combos over the next several races in the pick 5 is the way to go. I happen to think he's going to win, so I say it's a focused ticket this week, this Saturday. And in that pick 5 and in the turf pick 3, you want to limit your combinations and play them for a larger amount. So in my evaluation on the key to this card, on the second half of the card, I'm confident in Golden Pal. I say he's going to win. I think he's going to look good doing it. I rat Ortiz aboard, so I have to strategize appropriately then in the races to come. As for the other handicappers at Keeneland.com, what do they think of Golden Pal? It's a clean sweep. All of us have him on top. A couple different thoughts for second. Catamosto, Artemis City Limits, Bad Beat Brian. You notice I don't have Artemis City Limits in my top 3 because if I think Golden Pal's going to win this race and he's tremendous speed, the tremendous speed going with him, Artemis City Limits, is going to get tired out and fade off the board. That's my thought process. I think if you think that Artemis City Limits is going to win this race and outgun Golden Pal, then you can put him on top. But I think he finishes first or off the board. That's just my personal opinion. And the way I put horses in my picks, I don't pick 3 horses and say, top pick is my first pick to win. Second pick is my second choice to win. Third pick is my third choice to win. I put them 1, 2, 3 in the order I think they're going to finish in the race. So that's why Artemis City Limits is not out of the top 3 in terms of talent or chance to win this race. But I really think if he doesn't win, he's not going to finish on the board. He's going to get tired out from Golden Pal. So a little explanation there to the strategy. Let's go to the 7th race on the card. And on the big picture, we know that the race number 7 is going to start that extra boost of the stakes pick 4 that they put into the program. 3 pick 4s that we talked about. 7, 8, 9, 10 going to make up an all stakes pick 4. Starting race number 7. It's the Thoroughbred Club of America Stakes. And the TCA is a race over the years that has been a really good springboard to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, a division that's really looking for a standout star. You've got CC back from last year. She looked to get back on the beam last out at Santa Anita. You got Goodnight Olive up in New York. It looks like a good one for Chad Brown, but not tested against some of the absolute best around the country, but did beat CC on the nose up at the Spa. Could one of these fillies from the TCA make their name well known for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint? We'll find out. If you look in race number 7 across the board with the public handicappers, Sconsin, the top pick of 3 of the 5 handicappers, I'm not as sold. And with all due respect to my colleagues in here, Sconsin hasn't run some of her best races at Keeneland. And also, she's had a couple runs with Bell's the One that haven't gone her way, and she rivalry with Bell's the One. She seems to be losing traction in that rivalry. Now, Bell's the One's not running in the TCA Stakes, but it's a measuring stick. And for me, I just think Sconsin's not quite as good as she was a while back, and I think she might be slipping a little bit in form. What I do know about the TCA Stakes, though, is we have a very good pace in here, a hot pace. Palm Cottage, the 2, is very fast from the gate. Slammed is very fast. The New Mexico-based trainer Todd Finchers had this one running in New Mexico, out in California, improved her class at Del Mar. Joyful Cadence, very fast on the outside. Happy Soul on the far outside is even more speed. I think this race just cooks. I know it's only 6 furlongs, and the 6 furlong profile at Keeneland is to be pretty close to the pace, but I think this one is a race that's going to be one from a little bit off of it. You don't want to be far off of it. The average winner of this race has only been about 1 3/4 lengths. No horses closed more than 4 lengths off the lead in the TCA to win it after the opening half mile in the 8 years since we've been back on dirt. So you want to be within 3 or 4 lengths for sure. You don't want to drop all the way out the back. And that's why I like the 3 in here, Club Car. Club Car is a horse who, a mare who ran really well in this race last year. She was second at 14 to 1. The Bell's the One, beaten by a neck. Bell's the One ran her down, as she's apt to do when she fires from off the pace. Club Car, though, gets Irad Ortiz in a really interesting jockey change. And, you look at the last 3 starts finishing second. This horse had 3 other seconds going back to last year's TCA. 6 of the last 7 starts for Club Car and 13 times lifetime have been a second place finish. What can get a horse like that over the top? An equipment change can do it sometimes, and a change of jockey. And when you go to Irad Ortiz, I think he gets as much out of his mounts as anybody. He doesn't need to get much more out of Club Car for her to get the victory. And that's why when we go back to the big picture, she is my day's best bet. I think Club Car is going to run a magnificent race. She's got a great pace set up. We know she likes Keeneland. She's 6 for 7 in the money. She just missed in this race at 14 to 1 last year. And I think the change to Irad Ortiz really shakes it up. So my best bet of the day is Club Car, the 3 horse in race number 7. And what I've got to do when I look at this card is how do I maximize and make money off of her? We talked about if we think Golden Pal is a standout in the 6th race, and she's the play in the 7th. Look at the daily doubles when the 6th race is going on. Look at the daily double combinations, the will pays from race 6 to race 7. See what kind of price we're getting. Club Car, we want to maybe try to double by picking up the daily double. So if Club Car you think is going to go off in the 6, 7 to 1 range, we're looking at about a $15 winner. Could we get a $30 daily double with Golden Pal to that horse for $2? Maybe. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter than that, but that's why you want to check the will pays, because if she's being let go at a fair price in the daily doubles, and you can take what looks to be almost a free space if you trust the Golden Pal like I do on Saturday, then you can compound and make more money off the daily double than sitting around and just waiting on the win bet. And when you wait for the win bet, sometimes you're at the mercy of the late money action and the way the odds drop. If everybody jumps on Club Car as an overlay at some point in the wagering, the computer bettors and all that kind of stuff comes in and they try to bring the price back down, then you might have sat around and wait on your best bet, and the odds aren't what you wanted them to be. So I would say try to get the Club Car with the daily double from races 6 and 7 among our key plays in here. And I would also say when you're looking at the pick 5, I really like Club Car. I'm singling her. So I want a narrow focus ticket because I think it's not going to pay a ton on Saturday if a couple of the favorites win, including Golden Pal in race number 6. So I am singling in race number 7 for the second leg of the pick 5. If you're starting the pick 4 in this spot and you're not as confident as I am in Club Car, then maybe you could use another contender or two in the pick 4, because the pick 4 races 7 through 10 is not at the mercy of the price of Golden Pal being such a short price in race number 6. That's only, to consider if you're looking at the pick 5 and the price of Golden Pal. So evaluate the bets, try to get to the best price you can. But I am all in for Cub Car in race number 7. As for my cohorts in the selection box, again, 3 of them on top: Wisconsin, Plum Cottage, top pick for Scott Hazelton. As we go to race number 8, the co-featured First Lady Stakes, Grade 1, the first of our 3 straight Grade 1 races, a mile on the turf. And we know when it comes to fillies and mares, it's about Chad Brown. Chad Brown's got all the best fillies and mares in the country over the last 5-10 years for sure. And he's got 3 of the 6 entries in this race. And Technical Analysis, In Italian, and Regal Glory, and post 3, 4, and 5 respectively. It looks to me like the only pace players really in here. I don't think Princess Grace is fast enough to go to the front with some of these. It'll be Technical Analysis or In Italian. Which one of the Chad Browns will he want to send to the front? And then try to set it up for Regal Glory, who was second in this race last year behind Blowout. Regal Glory's run well at Keeneland, 1 for 4, but 2 second-place finishes. She's going to be a short price favorite, and I know all my cohorts in the selectors box have Regal Glory running down and taking off in the stretch and running down all the speed. I get the feeling, though, that In Italian is going to be handed the lead in here, that Technical Analysis and Pratt aren't going to go. Princess Grace will just kind of sit back in there, and they'll also let In Italian go. And if they let her go too long, I think she's going to be tough to beat. You saw today, Joel Rosario was very aggressive on the front end that got him disqualified, drifting horses out, carrying them out, doing what he can to hold on to a victory. I think it's going to be a similar kind of ride with In Italian. I think she's going to be on the lead, going to the quarter pole, turning for home. Rosario's going to do everything in his power to keep her in front. And I give In Italian an upset chance in here. She's run first or second every single time that she's got the lead in a race in her career. So if they give her the lead, she's not going to give it away easily. And she's going to be tough to run down. So I think In Italian can win and upset this thing. Regal Glory is going to be a single for a lot of people in the pick 6, in the pick 5, in the All Stakes pick 4 and 5. But I'm not singling here. This is a spot where I think it's legit to go too deep. Remember, I'm singling Golden Pal. I'm singling Club Car. Now, if I can get Regal Glory beat here in a spot where everybody else is singling, I can get a better payoff in those multi-race wagers. The payoff really jumps when you beat the big favorites. I like Golden Pal a little bit more in the trust department than I do Regal Glory in this spot, because I think In Italian is going to be handed a pace advantage. So for me, I like In Italian. I'm going to play the horse straight up. But in the multi-race wagers, it's too deep. I'm going to look at Technical Analysis and say if they don't go to the front with Technical Analysis, they're kind of giving away her best game. So In Italian with the speed, Regal Glory from off the pace. It's a 2-horse race for me in the First Lady, presented by UK Healthcare. So that 1 mile turf race, a prep probably for the Breeders' Cup Mile, going against the boys, because the distance 3/8 of a mile longer in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf really doesn't necessarily fit the game of some of the top players in a race number 8. 9th race on the card is the Breeders' Futurity. This is one of my favorite races at Keeneland every single year. I've had some luck handicapping it. That's one part of the reason why I like it. You remember your winners. The other thing is it's been a successful race for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, producing horses like Essential Quality 2 years ago. It's a good producer for the Triple Crown Series next year, and I love the 3-year-olds. So this gets my whistle wetted for the 3-year-olds for next year. And in the Breeders' Futurity, we've got a big field of 14 to deal with in here in race number 9. The public handicappers are all in on the 2 logins. Scott, Tom, and Gabby all have logins on top. Kim Nelson has logins second. I have logins nowhere. I might be wrong here. We're going to find out. This is why we play. But I think this is a race that's got a really good amount of pace in and sets up for a horse from a little bit off the pace. This is a race, historically, the average winner of this race has been 4.5 lengths off the lead when they go 48 or less, under 48 seconds for the opening half mile. Looking at the speed in this race, that includes Loggins and some other very fast horses to go with them. Bourbon Bash, you got Newgate for Baffert coming out of California. He's going to bring West Coast speed with him. You've got plenty of pace in here. 2 fills on the outside for Larry Ravelli, another speed trainer like Baffert. So I think this race goes really fast. It's going to go faster than 48. So when it goes faster than 48, we've seen horses really struggle to hold up front in this race historically. So I'm looking for a horse from off the pace, and I went with the other Brad Cox training. Everybody else is on Loggins practically, but I'm with Instant Coffee. Instant Coffee is a horse who broke his maiden at Saratoga in his debut and did it from just off the pace. He was inside that day, got a good education. You know, if you're just talented and you outrun everybody first time out, did you really learn anything from it? Instant Coffee drew the rail in a 9-horse field, so had to deal with that. Came through nicely, had a nice sustained run, galloped out nice. And we're talking about a mile and a 16th here in the Breeders' Futurity. You want a horse who can get more distance than they've been running. One thing to tell you in the stats and trends for the Breeders' Futurity, again, a mile and a 16th. The 8 years we've been on the dirt since going back to the dirt surface, 7 of those winners prepped at 7 furlongs or longer last time out. So horses who prep shorter than 7 furlongs have only 1 of the 8 wins. They're all trying to stretch out in here. It's a tough field. It's a big field. It's demanding. Some of the horses who won at 5.5, 6, 6.5 furlongs may not have gotten the education. That's one of the reasons I'm against Loggins. His career debut win was 6.5 furlongs. Not far off what we're looking for here, but a little bit. And he was so dominant in that race drawing off. Did he get enough out of it to now go in post 2 in a 14-horse field and go around 2 turns and, you know, much farther than he's run in his career? So from 6 furlongs and 6.5 furlongs out to the mile and a 16th, I think Loggins is a little bit vulnerable. I'm taking a shot against him. I like Instant Coffee in here, the 5. Forte, a horse who won the Hopeful Stakes at Saratoga. He's had some sloppy track form in that race. It's a little hard to evaluate, his talent. But the horses who ran behind him in the Hopeful, Gulfport came back to run 3rd in the Champagne, losing to the 3rd place finisher, Blazing Sevens from the Hopeful. Blazing Sevens came back in the Champagne to win that at Belmont, going a mile around 1 turn. So the company lines are a little hard to read for Forte. You know, was it the slop that really improved him? Who did he beat? Those horses did come back to run pretty well. So it's a difficult read in there, but I think Forte is one of those that you would definitely want to use in your exotics. But I'm using Instant Coffee, Forte, and I think Newgate, the Bob Baffert trainee's got some speed, working fairly well. Worked with Baffert's good horse out in California, Hijazi, and I think in Cave Rock, he's worked with Baffert's better horses, and he's held his own. So I think the 8 Newgate has a shot in here to hit the board as well. So in the Breeders' Futurity, we talked about being focused and not going too deep with our combinations. I think we're going to use 4 in here. The 5, Instant Coffee, the 8, Newgate, the 7, Forte, and the 2, Loggins. But I give you the right to take Loggins off the ticket and be gutsy here, because I think Loggins is going to be bet to favoritism. I know the morning line favorite is Forte, but I will be shocked if the favorite at post time is not Loggins. So, 3 deep for sure, maybe 4 deep if you want to use Loggins. Using a whole favorite defensively, though, is really not the best way to go. So 3 deep, let's do it then. Let's call it now. 3 deep, we're going to go for the pick 4, and then that keeps our combinations really limited through 3 legs of the pick 5. Coolmore Turf Mile is the 10th race on the program, and this is a stakes race, race number 10, that's going to wrap up the all-turf pick 3, the Daily Keeneland Turf pick 3. So that $3 wager is races 6, 8, and 10, the Woodford, the First Lady, and race number 10, the Coolmore Turf Mile. This is a tough one. I've handicapped this race for a couple days, been staring at it, and I just look at it from a pace standpoint that I think they're going to go fast in here. Classic Causeway, the 1 is fast. Smooth Like Straight, the 2 is fast. We've got some more speed with Some Like It Hot Brown out towards the outside in the 10 hole. I think they're going to go quick in here, and it's going to set up for a closer. And that's where I get to my key play, number 3 of the day. I think the closers hold the hammer in this race, and 2 of them from off the pace that I'm most interested in are Casa Creed, the 9, and the 6, Ivar. Ivar, my top choice in here. A horse who won this race 2 years ago. Last year, his trainer Paulo Lobo won it with a horse named In Love when Ivar finished 4th, beaten just 2 lengths. So Paulo Lobo is going for a 3-peat in the first, or I should say in the Turf Mile. It used to be called the Shadwell Turf Mile. Now it's the Coolmore Turf Mile, but same race, just a different sponsor. I give a big shot in here in race number 10 to Ivar to win the 2nd time in 3 years for that runner. And I'm only going 2 deep in here. I'm taking the 2 closers and I'm standing by them. Smooth Like Straight is very reliable, but he's got 10 losses in his last 10 losses. He's lost by a total of 6 1/4 lengths. So he barely gets beat a half length on average. He's always in the mix, but somebody finds him a little bit too tough and gets by him. He finds 1 too tough in there, usually maybe 2 here, but I like both closers, Ivar and Casa Creed, to come running, and that's going to be a real key play for me on this program. I'm going to take a little bit of a break here while you get a chance to listen to Tom Leach's interview with trainer Kenny McPeek. McPeek's got the 1 Classic Causeway going in the Coolmore Turf Mile, and he'll also talk about his 2-year-olds as well on the Saturday card. Here's Tom with Kenny.
Saturday's card, Kenny McPeek will saddle 3 in 2 of the stakes races. First, let's talk about Classic Causeway in the Coolmore Mile and how he's coming up to the race.
Well, we're shifting him back to a mile. He ran a 1.5 miles in New York last time out. This horse is really solid. And he's drawn the 1 hole in the Coolmore, which is obviously it's Julian Leperoux's job to figure out what to do from the inside there. But that's going to be a really good race. He's a 3-year-old going against older horses. I really prefer to run against straight 3s, but we're going to give him 1 chance here in the mile. And if he's highly competitive, maybe you see him back in the Breeders' Cup. But right now, fingers crossed that he handles the older horses and the shortening up in distance.
What about turf? Ought to be pretty firm. We haven't had much rain. Do you have a preference?
I don't think it'll matter. Matter of fact, I think I'd probably like it firm as opposed to soft for him. But he's pretty adaptable. I think he'll handle it either way.
Let's move to the Clever Breeders' Futurity. Frosted Departure, been incredibly impressive last time. Mm-hmm. Did that surprise you at all? How good he was?
Frosted Departure, it's been a bit of a hit and miss with him. He's had a couple of races we had a head scratcher and he didn't finish up, and then his last race was ultra impressive, and if he'll run back to that last race, I think he's got a huge shot in there. He's still got to learn the 2-turn game plan there. He's got to rate a little bit and maybe not be so one-dimensional. He's extremely fast, though. He'll go towards the front, but I think I'd rather see him lay maybe 3rd, 4th, and then kick home. So that'll be fun to watch, but he is very talented when everything goes right.
Honed was a big price, but did that surprise you what he did?
Yeah, that was a pleasant surprise. He's not a big horse. Honed is a really well-made, really good-looking son of Sharp Azteca. And if he had run a straight line in the Iroquois, he wins that race. He ducked out going into the first turn. He got very green coming down the lane, jumped off his lead when they straightened for home. It wasn't a professional race on his part, but he still only got beat, I believe, half length or 3/4 of a length. So he's got a lot of raw talent there, but he's yet to put it together and really run professionally. And I think this race is going to be a good one for him to hopefully take to another level.
Any of the 2-year-olds that you're excited about that either haven't run or maybe only run once?
Yeah, we do. We've got some horses coming out of New York. I've got a Galileo colt that may show up here before the end of the meet that is probably grass, 1 1/16 colt. And then we've got a Zerac colt that I bought in France that's getting ready named Gold Frank. The Galileo colt's name's Peason. We've got a colt named Bengals Go that we're anticipating will run on Sunday. And then we've got a list of 2-year-old fillies. Ghostly Girl, Roses and Rosé is an always dreaming filly we're fond of. We've got Sir in opening weekend. Actually, the list is too long. Relampago Verde is a colt that's really coming to workouts are impressive at this point. I could give you so many more. I can't hardly count them all.
So some good information there from Tom Leach, and thanks to trainer Kenny McPeek. Not only thoughts on his horses now, but put the horse Peason on your watch list the way it sounds. The Galileo colt he's looking forward to running here a little bit later in the Keeneland meet, headed for the maiden turf ranks the way it sounds. Peason. So let's get back to our handicapping for Saturdays. We wrap things up. Again, we're taking the 2 horses in the 10th race, the Coolmore Turf Mile, the 2 closers, Ivar and Casa Creed, as my 3rd and final key play on this program. And as we go back and we review, what we're talking about here for the stakes pick 5, I think because we're taking Golden Pal that we want to stay very focused. So if we have Golden Pal, then we single Club Car in the 7th. We go 2 deep with the Chad Browns in Italian up front, Regal Glory from off the pace. Then we take the 3 horses that we liked in the Breeders' Futurity, those being Instant Coffee, Newgate, and Forte. We take a chance against Loggins in there, tossing who I think will be the eventual favorite. We're only 3 deep. And then we take the 2 closers in the finale of the All Stakes Pick 5, those being Ivar and Casa Creed. We're looking at 1 by 1 by 2 by 3 by 2. That's only 12 combinations. And so 12 combinations in a 50-cent Pick 5 is just a $6 ticket. So this is what we're talking about. Like, can you put together a $50 budget on the $6 ticket? You could play it 8 times for $48. And so if the Pick 5 hits, you'll not have a 50-cent Pick 5. You'll have it $4 worth 8 times. And so if it only pays $60, $70 for the Pick 5, but you've got it 8 times, you're cashing for between $450 and $550 at the windows on a $50 play. Whereas other people who are taking $50 and betting it and spreading it into what looks like it could be a small return day, those people will be lucky to cash for $70 while you be cashing with the same numbers on your ticket for $400 or $500. So that's the value in being focused in your tickets and getting paid when you're right. People lose all the time. You lose with 12 combinations just as easy as you lose with 50. It doesn't give you as much coverage as you think having 50 more combinations than having 12 a lot of times. You know, you've got to have the right horses. It's got to be your day, and you got to have strong opinions and back them when you're right. And that's what we'll do on this card. 12th and our 11th and final race on the program. Let's go to the handicapper selectors box. Cape Trafalgar, a horse that Tom Leach and I both have on top, will be my top choice. My second pick in there, Rewire, is the top pick of Gabby and Scott. So, you know, between the 4 and the 10, you've got really good coverage. Also, the 2 old points. So 2, 4, 10 is where all the action is in the 11th race amongst the public handicappers. If you're wrapping up the day with the pick 6, the late pick 4 will end in that race. Remember, 3 pick 4s on the card on Saturday. That late one will span races 8, 9, 10, and 11. So 3 deep maybe in the finale should have you good coverage in there. Cape Trafalgar, my top pick, is a horse who was really ballyhooed, and I thought was going to run a big race here in the spring meet for Safi Joseph. Disappointed at a very short price in the nightcap. I recall being live to him, needing him for a good score, and it didn't come through. But this horse comes back now at Keeneland, training up to it. And there's an intent to win at Keeneland here from the connections, it seems, with this horse. That's usually a good sign. The workout tab looks outstanding coming into it. So laying off, turning back, shortening the distance, working very well in the morning. That's usually a good combination for a handicapping angle. I'm with Cape Trafalgar in the 11th and final. That's going to wrap up the look ahead for the Saturday, October 8th card. It's False Stars Saturday. First post will be 1 o'clock. Again, temperature supposed to be just above 70 degrees, right around 70. Nice sunny skies. We're going to have a fast track. We're going to have a good turf course. Everything should be great for another wonderful day of racing. And we're 4 weeks away from the Breeders' Cup as we record tonight. It'll be Breeders' Cup Friday in 4 weeks. And then 4 weeks from tomorrow will be Breeders' Cup Saturday. So it's all right around the corner. The final preps are going to be finished up here in the next, 48 hours or so by Sunday Spinster. The major preps for the Breeders' Cup will, for all intents and purposes, be wrapped up as horses then get into that final training mode. We'll talk about that down the line as we get a little bit closer. When we get some important workouts to look at towards the Breeders' Cup and horses that are training at Keeneland, we'll try to give you those updates on the Keeneland look ahead as well. But our focus tomorrow is cashing some tickets, everybody. Good luck. We'll talk to you tomorrow night as we recap Saturday and look ahead to the Spinster Sunday card. Take care, everybody.